Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to HCS Source with Why Not Be Reckless, aka Why Not Be Casted, one of the HCS commentators, and I'm kind of a freaking big deal. If you don't know, now you know. And I got my man Active, but don't forget the second E, and it stands for excitement, because we have another episode for you. Active, how you feeling today?
Excitement. I'm feeling excited, Tony. What an incredible weekend we had. Okay, we got to cast some incredible matches. We're going to talk about that today, and I'm excited. I don't think I don't think I had my best cast, but we had fun, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm doing good. Played some ranked with this guy named Tony. He just stays alive the whole time. It's kind of crazy. Like I'm over there dying like every 2 seconds, and he's like, I'm living. That's all I hear. I'm living, and then all you hear from me is, I'm dead. But it's a good time, Tony. Take us in and let us know what happened this weekend.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you mentioned that, because I feel like I had the same exact reply to somebody who was hyping me up on Twitter about the cast. I said I had my best cast at all this weekend. There were some fun moments and whatnot, and I think the good moments outweighed the bad. And but yeah, it was great. Like I said, we casted the HCS 4K Open Series. There was one for each region, A and Z, as they would call it. We had EU, and then also Mexico involved, and obviously North America, which we're gonna hone in on. But I think before we get there, we normally would have like a little bit of an icebreaker, and I actually enjoyed those. So before we even get to all the serious nitty-gritty stuff, I have a very important question to ask you.
Okay.
How do you like your wings?
Oh, that's a good question.
Are you a boned in or a boneless kind of girl?
Oh, dude, boneless is disgusting, first off. I'm on keto, so I have to have bone in. So I'm traditional all the way. And I'm gonna say Parmesan garlic is my pick if I'm going to Buffalo Wild Wings. Parmesan garlic is keto friendly, and yeah, I can down a whole bunch of them and be okay. So I have to go there. What about you? Were you making faces, by the way? What's wrong with my pick?
Well, you said you're keto, so you have to have the bone in. I feel like, wait, so what about keto says you can't have boneless wings? Like,
it's breaded. Boneless wings are breaded.
Take the bread off. In fact, Chick-fil-A has breadless boneless wings.
I have them all the time.
They have grilled ones.
Yeah, it's grilled. You have to have them grilled. Yeah. So essentially, yeah, you can have traditional, but if you're gonna have like no bone, then you have to go with grilled. That's the only way it works. So yeah, Chick-fil-A. That's actually what I get from Chick-fil-A. Is the grilled nuggets. Those are good too. But anyway, how do you like your wings?
I like my wings. I like my wings keto.
I hate you so much, bro.
My favorite thing about having a friend that's keto is that any mention of food or not food whatsoever, at a minimum once per hour, they have to remind you that they're on a keto diet. Like it's like there's nothing else like being on a keto diet. Like, there's no other diet out there like that. Like, nobody's counting calories and going Pilates, talking about every hour. You know what? And my Pilates class, like, it's literally only the people that are keto. That if you have any word that has to do anything with food or even close enough to food, at this point, I can be like, yo, my freaking butt hurts, and I'm like, yo, I'm on keto, man, so I can't have pork butt anymore. Like, wait, what? Like, why does me talking about my ass make you think of food?
I'm gonna be honest with you. You said keto, but it's only me, Tony. I'm the only one that does this, okay? And I apologize, because when we went to Orlando together, and well, actually not the SSG event, 'cause we went there together, but I was just eating whatever I wanted at that point. But when we went to Orlando, I was on keto, and Tony's right. I talked about it every hour on the hour, and I was like, man, no, this is so good. It feels so good. Even Bravo, Gaskin, Onset all had to listen to me talk about, this is so good, man. Keto is the best diet. Yeah, so it's only me, Tony. Not every keto dieter does that. So apologize to you keto dieters out there for making you look bad, but yeah.
Shurzy in the chat says that there's double audio coming from you. I want to try to check that out. But
double audio?
Yeah, he isn't lying. Like the man would introduce himself like in the cast. Like yo, what's up, guys? My name is Timothy Active Ferreira, and I'm on keto, and we're gonna be watching Optic versus FaZe. Like, what? Well, I'm sorry. I digress. I went way around the subject. So
hopefully we're good.
I will say I have a rule when it comes to wings, and I think bone and wings is better. Like if you're in any way, shape, or form, if the option is to bone or not, you go bone.
Okay.
In any way, shape, or form. I think bone and wings taste better. However, if I'm out with friends, if I'm out with like a young lady or whatnot, and we just instead of going to like a nicer restaurant, we go to like maybe like a like a little bit of a dive bar type of area, whatnot. I think eating bone in wings is not the most like elegant thing in the world. I didn't go to like what are those proper courses that you go to where you learn to put like your pinky out when you're drinking tea. I didn't go to one of those. I'm sure there's a way that you can eat a wing properly.
Right.
But so I'm not one of those like oh my gosh, like boneless is chicken tenders. Dude, shut up. Like, I think boneless wings are good. I think they're easier to dunk and manage around like a nice ranch or a blue cheese. So if you have a good ranch or blue cheese, like a house ranch or blue cheese, like to try to maneuver around the bone and whatnot could get a little bit annoying when you're dipping wings. So actually boneless is even more, is not only neater, but I feel like it's also just easier and more practical, especially with a nice house dressing or whatnot. So I'll take it either way. And then as far as a sauce, give me like a honey garlic. I promise you, do not kiss me.
I wasn't planning on it.
Because some way, shape, or form, we're gonna have some kind of garlic. I love honey garlic. And so
we're garlic lovers, Tony, because yours is honey garlic, mine's Parmesan garlic. So it's we got that in common.
I like other ones. So I'm big on teriyaki as well. Like even like a honey barbecue. I like mixing like sweet and like savory a lot. So you'll hear me like with honey or anything and whatnot. I love mixing sweet and savory. I think mixing flavors like that's really good, which is why I lean to like a pineapple one, like a pizza topping, along with like a salty sausage or something. But yeah. You guys in chat, let us know how you like your wings while we get down to business. Because we're not here to talk about wings.
That's right.
I mean, I am, but Tim's not here to talk about wings. He's here to talk about Halo, and we're gonna hone in on the 4K Open Series for North America. But before we get there, I want to let you guys know that there were some other winners, like for example in the ANZ area, that was Mindfreak, Plasma, Benji, Beastin, and Pips that ended up winning out their region. I mean, and Mindfreak, I'm pretty sure it's the same team that Barcode came from. Like when I heard Benji, Beastin, and Pips, I was like, oh snap, that was Barcode's old teammates. I remember it popped right into my head, so it makes sense that they would come out on top. Over in that area, they're still number one, even with Barcode no longer there. Meanwhile, in the EU, you have Quadrant over Navi, SLG, Sika, Legend, and who were able to beat out Navi. Which I cannot say their full name. I apologize. But Navi, Snaky, Mighty, Snipe Drone, and Jimbo, and that whole roster move that Quadrant and Navi did, or Quadrant, I guess more like the old Ascend roster and Quadrant did, just made so much sense. I mean, I loved it. You got 4 players now that are speaking French, which just makes communication so much easier, and they have the talent to keep up with each other. You have Snipe Drone, who's one of the baddest men in EU.
Yeah, he's good.
Going over towards Navi. He's so underrated.
Yes,
honestly.
Agreed.
Underrated. And he's joining the likes of Jimbo and the Young Gun and Mighties and Snaky, who was that newest player on that roster at one point in time. I love that new Navi roster. I think they're better than last year. I think Quadrant can be better than Ascend, even though I love the original Ascend roster with back with Shady was on. If you remember, like all the way back, the first iteration with Shady was nasty before they brought in Respectful, who was also very good.
Yep.
But Quadrant did beat out Navi. In the Mexico region, you have Noble, Drift, Bullet, and Magico. Drift was actually former teammates with Tapping Buttons. I think Bullet was on that team for a little bit as well. Noble and Magico were on that number 2 ranked Mexican team for a very long time. And it looks like they jumped over towards Luminosity Gaming. And even, of course, Native White, they steal Barco for ANZ, they steal Tapping Buttons for Mexico, and somehow the former teams are still thriving as far as Bullet and Drift. I do wonder where, like, Atso went. I think Atso was teaming, like, last time I checked with, like, Rorsch and Gambino, I believe it was.
But he's on the list now.
I miss Atsu. Atsu was good. Plus he was in Chia, so like Genjutsu and shurikens. I know all that stuff.
I do want to say like something about Drift is every single day this guy's in matchmaking. He's playing with Complexion and like that. I'm always he probably hates me by now because we always match up and he's like carrying the game and I'm over here trying to like do the best I can to keep up. But yeah, he's always grinding. That's the one thing about Drift that I see. Playing with the NA guys, always grinding on a high ping, which I love.
I mean, not that far, right? I mean like Mexico's like
it's not that far,
like
right?
California,
yeah,
right?
It's essentially
it's not that bad,
right?
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know Cali connection isn't the best. Everybody from Cali is usually like averaging like 60 to 90 ping, but you know what? You can't have it all. You can't have the nice weather and the connection too, right? So get over it, Cali. I'm so sorry. Meanwhile, it's snowstorms in New York, and you guys are out in 75-degree weather in your bikinis. Screw you, Cali. Who are you to complain?
San Diego weather's amazing. My goodness.
And let's hone in on North America. Tim, they're not gonna be able to see this bracket, right? So I just want to make sure that I'm painting the right picture and whatnot. They're not the bracket that we can see right now.
Yep.
The audience isn't gonna be able to see, correct?
I can let them see it if you'd like them to see it. Sure, there it is. It's right here, and you are the one on the screen here too. So this is the bracket. There we go.
Okay. Can you put yourself on there too? Like, do we want to do the rest of this bracket with both of us on camera and the?
I will attempt to do that. Yeah. My thing.
We'll edit this part out.
I'm not editing nothing.
We pay our editor $200,000.
We are not editing nothing.
Specifically to edit this part out of the YouTube. Editor, edit, take 1, 2.
It's not working.
I have a
my camera's
right
not
here.
working at all. It's all you, Tony. I don't know. We could just go back to the regular scene. My camera's not working on that scene for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
Problem. We'll just paint the nice little picture for you guys.
Okay.
Pool play was great. We're not going to talk too much about pool play for the sake of just like saving time.
Okay.
But pool play was great. And to what ended up happening because of pool play, some of the upsets, you had Team Meta starting off elimination bracket, a very good team.
Very good.
Sentinel starting off in elimination bracket. One could argue that's a good team as well. Shopify Rebellion, again, another very good team starting off elimination bracket. And then G1, 4 very capable teams. But because of the way pool play worked, the 4th place team gets eliminated.
Right.
The 3rd place team ends up in the elimination bracket, and the top 2 ended up towards the winners bracket. I will say, I got the chance to sit down with McWin, and we talked about having a scenario where maybe being first place in your pools would give you an advantage. So instead of starting off in round number 1,
start for round
you
number 2.
would automatically start in like semis and whatnot.
I like that. Yeah.
And then you could also still have the 4th place squad make it to bracket play, even though I like the idea of like relegation with the last place team like really having to fight because they might not make it to bracket. Either way, there's no perfect way to do it and whatnot. It's just a different way of doing so. But either way, that's what happened with pool play. I'm gonna go through each matchup and I'm gonna send it over to you and get your thoughts.
Okay.
So let's start off with Optic Gaming 3-0ing Proton. Optic made up of Lucid, APG, Trippy, and Formal. And then you have Proton Gaming, Breaking Shot, Posey, Common, and Monster. Talk to me about this match. I bet you were baffled by this. I bet you were stunned.
I actually fell off my chair when this happened because it didn't make sense. I don't understand. But
you got a big head.
I hate you. In all honesty, I really I want to highlight one player here. Very important player. Breaking Shot. This kid is disgusting. He is so good. And watching him maneuver and finesse his life and being able, his movement is on par with some of the best, I think, in my opinion. I think that he still has a little bit of learning to do in terms of when to be aggressive, when to utilize that movement. But there's just a lot of times where there was kills where he shouldn't have gotten the kills that he got, but he did, and it changed the game. Against Optic, obviously they didn't do so well. I actually didn't even watch that first matchup, I don't believe. But I want to talk about Breaking Shot because I just feel like throughout this tournament, he impressed me so much. Optic, this was written. It was there. We knew it was going to happen. Optic are just nasty. They always start off strong. They always end strong. That's pretty much Optic in general. They're not like an SSG where they start slow and whatever. But yeah, that's my kind of thoughts on that matchup.
It's funny that you're mentioning Breaking Shot now because like back late in season 1,
Yeah.
I was casting an esports arena event, and I got to watch more of Breaking Shot. I've heard of him, but I didn't get the chance to watch as much as I would like to of him until that esports arena event, and I felt the same way. And I was telling him, I was like this guy has like star potential, like almost bound like with the way that he plays with his movement and his shot matching and everything being about buying time and savoring your life. And then when you get those numbers, that same movement can be used to speed up the gameplay as well, as opposed to just staying alive.
Yeah.
And I think it's exciting. It's really hard. It's really fun to watch. It's really hard to time. Like, when you're playing at something like that, like everything about Halo is timing and rhythm. Like I know when to throw this nade here because I saw that player, spawn C, cross the C plat, and I know it's going to take X amount of time for him to go towards long haul. So this nade is perfectly there. But a player like Breaking Shot, he done curbside, jumped up to the 360, and he just threw off your whole time. And everything about, Halo and even competitive shooters in general has to do with timing and rhythm, and he's definitely one to confuse you with his, and he has a shot to match. So it's funny because people thought I was crazy when I made the bounce comparison. So I'm happy that he's getting a lot of shine now because I'm like, if you guys are actually watching, dude, Breaking Shot is nasty. And he also uses the Victrix controller, which they talk about that being like the fastest as far as latency. It's not a Victrix ad or anything like that, but as far as latency wise and whatnot, and when Spartan got his, we noticed that he started frying immediately to a 20-0 rampage, almost ending the game with a perfection, only dying one time. So Victrix stock really going up. But Optic Gaming 3-0, like you said, I'm no real surprise there. Optic are if not number 1 in the league, they're top 2 in the league. Proton Gaming, I put them in guaranteed top 16, legitimately fighting for top 12 though, and then I can see them getting top 8, and who knows, maybe in the future, maybe getting top 6. Dare I say it? But levels to this kind of thing. Proton Gaming gets swept. Hopefully in the future they take a win. Moving on to the next matchup, we had Native on Native Crime, the Native Pink, if you will. Native Red going up against Native White. Native Red ends up 3-1ing. Native White, and just to give you the teams, or for the people at home, so not you, excuse me, you know them, but Manny, Soul Snipe, Taulik, and Druck. And then on Native White, you got McWin, who I actually had to sit down with recently and got to pick his brain a little bit.
I gotta watch
Barcode. You don't watch any of my stuff. Shut up, you liar. Barcode, tapping buttons, and Gilkey, 3-1 for Native Red. How do you feel about this matchup or the teams in general? Talk to me about this matchup.
I've talked about Native Red multiple times in the past, and I've pretty much said the same thing, and I still stand true to some of it. So I think this roster, the Native Red roster, I thought they hit a ceiling before Worlds, and I said this. They end up getting 3rd, which is insane. I just want to be honest, like a team like that hitting a ceiling, me thinking they're not going to get any further. They're not going to get any better. They've got this aggression that is telegraphed, hours in advance. They just have this aggression that just never stops and keeps going. And then teams just read it. They just read it all day. So like, to me, that team wasn't going anywhere because I didn't think, I think they placed 4th in Kansas City. I believe it was. It was an amazing series. I believe it was 4th, but it was an amazing series. The crowd was so energetic. It was probably one of the best events I've ever been to. And I didn't think they could go further. And then they did that at Worlds, and I was like, okay. And now they've come to a point where, yes, they're placing 4th again, yes, and they solidified that, but I don't see them going higher. And I thought 3rd was insane. I don't put them any higher than 3rd. I actually don't put them any higher than 4th at this point, just because we've got now FaZe in the mix. We've got Optic, we've got SSG, who is still sleeping, but we'll wake up and we'll play better. I think when it comes to LAN, I think they're going to win a couple events this year at least. Even with FaZe being insane and Optic being insane, I think SSG has a solidified chance. But yeah, that's my thing about Native Red. In terms of Native White, I love this roster. I think this roster is amazing, and the fact that they didn't get a lot of practice is incredible to me. That they're performing as well as they are. I mean, we're talking about their chemistry was phenomenal in this tournament. I that's one of the things I definitely noticed is the bait and switch was just on point. Barcode was playing to potential. I think he could definitely play a little bit better, but I think he's playing well. And then you got Mikwin who got to play the game 3 years before it came out, so he's got all the secrets. So I love this native white roster. I really love this native white roster. So I want to see them succeed. Do they place, higher than they placed at this tournament? They obviously got 5th, 6th. They're going to need a lot more work, but I think that the potential is there. I think that all of these players are incredible. I truly love this team. So a great series. Native Red came out on top. They always start really hot. But yeah.
I love this matchup and this rivalry and the fact that both of these teams are both under the same organization. By the way, Tim, I forgot to tweet out.
I'm going to do that right now.
I just did right now.
Okay.
And if you want to retweet or share or whatever it is. But one of the reasons why I love this rivalry and the fact that they're in the same org is because I feel like both of these teams are in very similar boats. And I say that because I feel like kind of alluded to, the top 3 right now is pretty solidified. Optic, FaZe, and SSG. Right. That's your top 3. Anybody wants to make it to the top 3, Space Station are the gatekeepers, and it's going to be damn hard to do that. After that, that's where you have Native Red, Native White. I think Avengers are starting to step into that zone of fighting for top 4. I think so. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And then you have other teams, but I think that's like the next echelon of teams right there. And then after that, you have the Proton Gaming, the Sentinels, the Shopify Rebellions, and I'll even put like the Quadrants and different teams in that wave. But there's only one spot in the top 4. Like, think about it. There's only 3 spots in the top 3.
Right.
And then top 4, and then it splits off as top 6 is 2 teams, top 8, 2 teams, top 12, 14. There's only one spot in top 4, top 3, top 2, and top 1 in first place.
Right.
And Native Red, Native White, Avengers, and then some other very capable teams are fighting for that. But I think Native Red and Native White are leading the charge right now, especially after Charlotte. So I find it interesting with this rivalry because I think Native Red and Native White are the 2 front runners to make that 4th place spot with some very capable teams right on their heels.
Right under.
And it's going to be a fight with them every single time. It's not the last time we're going to see Native Red, Native White going at it. And it's not going to be the last time we see them going at it for making it into the upper echelon of a tournament. So it's just really exciting to me that you have 2 very similar teams that were signed by Native. So and shout out to the Range Native Dean for being able to recognize the talent of these 2 rosters. Picking up Native Red where the inconsistencies were there, and they still are. Yeah. But still recognize that Native Red still were super talented, and then picking up Mikwin very early.
Smart.
As a content creator.
Yep.
Trusting him to put a team together, going through all the issues with visas and all the different things to get Barcode over into America, to get Titan Buds over into I guess North America, because he was in South America, and to even get this going. Great job for Dean and his team. Smart to recognize that these are 2 teams that's worth investing in.
Yep.
So that's one of the reasons. Sorry, I ranted a little bit.
No, I think I agree with everything you said. Yeah.
So Native Red 3-1 and Native White. I'm not surprised by this.
Okay.
At the same time, if you told me 3-1 in Native White's favor, I wouldn't be surprised. I think these 2 teams are really good, and I think even though Native Red might have a slight edge over them, I think they're both really good. That they're both capable, and I also think that they both are a terrible matchup for SSG. But we'll talk about that later. FaZe 3-0 Cloud9. New FaZe and new Cloud9, so Frosty, Snakebite, Renegade, World 2. Cloud9, you have, to my knowledge, 3 players that are still actually signed with Cloud9, which is, because I don't think Rami is technically yet.
Still not yet, okay.
Triton, I know Triton's Squally and Nemesis, they tweet out that they're signed.
Right.
And then I guess they were still trialing Rami, but he's been playing like every single tournament. So I think at this point, if he's not already signed, it's like pretty damn close to it.
Yeah.
And that makes up the Cloud9 roster. It was a 3-0 sweep.
Yeah.
FaZe came out on top to move into the semifinals.
Yeah, you know me and FaZe, a little bit of a fanboy. Have to really work on that, especially if I get to cast HCS events again. I got to work on that bias because it's there. I'm gonna tell you right now. I love this squad, man. We got a dynasty type squad here that are like literally on the brink. They're on the brink of dethroning Optic, in my opinion. I was very disappointed at the end result, which I'm not going to talk about because we're building here. Okay, we're building the blocks. Tony's doing a great job of that. But I love this FaZe roster. I think they're really solid. I think with the addition of Renegade, it's someone who they wanted for a very long time, since season 1. I think he adds an incredible dynamic to this roster, an incredible slate potential. I think that. Okay, listen, I kind of want to get into Renegade a little bit. Give me a second here. Let me cook, Tony. I think he's really good. All right, I think he is so good. I think he's in conversation to be one of the best players in the game. But that's crazy because I still think he's got a lot of growing to do. And not necessarily the plays he makes. It's not like him, making the wrong plays, because I'm not the person to say that whatsoever. But I would say in the realm of communication. And even watching back, like some of the, I believe it was Charlotte. I watched back the finals. I just feel like when it comes to FaZe's communication as a 3, Snakebite, Frosty, Roll 2, incredible comms. Small talk is there. They're like, we're talking like very important stuff. And then we have the like other communication, which is Renegade, which is kind of like the Slayer mind type communication you hear in matchmaking, where it's like, one shot over here, one shot over here, one shot over here, one shot over here. And I think, and that's not a slam to Renegade. Like I said, I think he's one of the best players in the game. And if this is something that he can improve on, imagine we're talking about potentially like a Shotzi type situation here with Renegade, where like if he masters that communication, oh baby, this kid is going to be disgusting. If he masters that small talk with his team and they kind of gel a little bit more, he's going to be insane. And I know you and I talked about this. I know you have some thoughts on it, but this FaZe Clan roster is incredible. I think very, very good roster, and I think they can only grow at this point. We're talking about a team that, obviously the 3 were together for 12 years, but Renegade's a new addition, and that new addition throws a wrench in things. Cloud9, I think that Rami needs to get signed instantly. I don't know what's taking so long. I don't, like, what is going on here? Do you need a pen? I think Triton's incredible. I love him. And then Squale, I know there was some bad blood with him in G1, and even with like Switch and G1, you hear him on Twitter and stuff like that. I don't really know what went on there, but Squally is just a really good individual player. We have on our, he never misses. The guy's got an incredible shot, and of course Nemesis, very well-rounded player. I need to watch more of him because I really think his playstyle is very interesting. I think he does a lot of things. Like he kind of very moldable. So I love this Cloud9 roster, and I can't wait to see if they continue on. I know 3 of them are signed, but they continue on with Rami. I think Rami's that bow tie. I think that he's a perfect fit for this team, and I hope they stick together.
Yeah, I like Cloud9 a lot. I'm happy that they made it into the top 12 to begin with. And I don't want to sound like a jerk when I say this, because I'm tough. I say it all the time. Tough on teams that I believe in.
Okay.
I'm tough on teams that I see potential in. So when I see the Cloud9 outside of top 8, when it's only North American talent, I'm like, damn, what happens when you start mixing in Mexico, ANZ,
true,
and Europe?
Mm.
And then when I see that you only win 1 game in bracket play, I'm upset by that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I know you went up against FaZe. Yes, I know you went up against Shopify Rebellion. But for a tournament that mattered this much, I wanted to see a little bit more from Cloud9. And maybe I'm just being picky, but I want to see them take a game off of FaZe and 2 off of Rebellion and make it to a game 5.
Okay.
I think they're good enough to take a game off of FaZe. I definitely think they're good enough to not only take Rebellion to game 5, but I think Cloud9 are good enough to beat them. Rebellion are not a perfect team. Rebellion are good,
right?
But they're not perfect. They have weaknesses as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm putting you in the same breath as Meta Elite, which that's another team that needs to figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also putting in the same breath as the Proton Gamings, the Sentinels, the Rebellions, slightly below the Avengers. Like, I want to put you in the same breath as them, but I need to see more out of Cloud9 or Team Meta Elite to warrant putting you within that conversation.
I respect that.
I know you have it in you, but I need to see more of it. So again, I'm not trying to sound like a jerk. I'm not trying to, maybe it's because I see something that I'm giving them unrealistic expectations. If somebody thinks I'm crazy, but I think Cloud9 are really good, and I want to see more of them. And no matter what you alluded to this as well with FaZe, is that when it comes to FaZe, I think we could all agree that just like Optic, there's a level of competitive maturity that's there.
Yes.
Where they have no problem looking themselves within a third person and say, okay, look, this is our weakness. We need to fix it.
Mm-hmm. How
do we turn it into, if not a strength, damn close to it? Optic are so good at doing that. That's one reason why they're the most well-rounded teams in the league right now. It's not that Optic are leagues above everybody else. I think they're good. I think they're great. I think they're elite.
Right.
But I'll say that it's what makes them so elite is that they're so well-rounded. Me and McWin talked about it a little bit. They have one weak game type and map combination, while everybody else is struggling with many or multiple. I think FaZe have that as well. The difference is that Optic had X amount of time to find what those weaknesses were and address them, where FaZe are implementing Renegade in, and although it's one piece, when we're talking about the top echelon of teams, to get to that one more spot into first, because they're already top 2 in the world right now, in my opinion, I think it's going to take some time. So it's one thing about FaZe that I know is that the competitive maturity is there, and as they mature together throughout the rest of the year, they're somehow going to get better than they already are. And like, where else up do you how do you get better than second place?
Right.
You're top 2 in the world. I guess next step is first place.
Right.
But Optic are not going to make that easy. So that's kind of where I'm at with FaZe and Cloud9. If you guys in the chat right now, hey, let me know if is Tony crazy. What the hell? Please, I'm open for discussion. I'll tell you why you're wrong 7 days a week. Next up, we got Space Station Gaming going up against Avengers. Space Station, Penguin, Bound, Eco, and Stellar going up against the Avengers, who I think they're starting to pull away from the rest of the top 8, top 6 teams out there, or top 8 teams fighting for top 6 in Swish, Huss, Precision, and Ironical. Excuse me. It was 3-1 in favor of SSG.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about these teams or this result, I should say?
All right, so you've kind of heard me talk about Space Station before, but I'm going to go on my rant again. SSG is the best content org in Halo, period. I would say the best content org, period. End of story. They know their content. They know their audience. They do a really good job at researching that. They do a really great job of executing on their content, making it funny. We were the first people to see that, Tony, when we went to the Snowdown, right? It was a great time, and the content was amazing. It's almost like the team also is, versed in content, because they keep throwing at the beginning of tournaments. I don't know what's going on here. We like Space Station Gaming, I put them in my top 3 solidified, brick by, that's it. Like, they are top 3, no ifs, ands, or buts, but they're not playing like they're top 3. And I think that it's almost like they go into a tournament, they get in there and they're like, okay, just let's tiptoe and do, okay. Oh, wait a minute. We're about to lose. Oh, okay. Oh, guys, come on. It's time to turn on the switch. Turn the lights on. We can't see. All of a sudden the lights are on. Everyone's happy. Everyone can see. And then all of a sudden we see the best out of this team. I don't know where this inconsistency comes from. I think it's been an inconsistency for a while. When Bound joined, and they obviously, we're talking inconsistency, but they still placed top 2 all of HCS season 1. So they're not that inconsistent, but I'm saying, like, they always start really, really, really slow, and then they finish really well. And I want to know why. I want to know because there's going to be a time where you start really slow and then you can't finish strong. You can't, step it up at the very end. And I'm curious to see why that happens, why it takes them so long to get into their groove. because I think this team is one of the best teams in the game, period. And they don't play like it at the beginning of tournaments. They play like it when they're in the losers bracket and they're down 0-2 in a best of 5. That's when they play like it. You know what I mean? But I want to see it earlier. And I think they have a lot of potential, and that's why I'm saying that. I think they're one of the best teams in the game, and I think they can win events this year. But we got to see that kind of fire earlier in the tournament, in my opinion. Avengers, I love this team. This is the epitome of being on a roster and wanting to win for more than just the placing or whatever. They're in life, when you face struggle, the most important thing to have, in my opinion, is a why. And when you've been kicked off a team like like Swish has, and the other players have their stories as well, you have that why. There's one more reason to perform, and they showed us this. Avengers have done incredible things. They've many upsets, Tony. I think it was 3 upsets in one tournament. I think it was the JJ Events tournament, right? They upset 3 different teams. It was like FaZe. There's 2 other teams. We had talked about this, but
it was there's Complexity Sentinels, G1, and FaZe.
That's crazy. I mean, like that right there. Like, I think Swish FaZe is a great player. I know that he has some stuff with G1 as well. I don't know what happened there. I'm not a fly on the wall, but I think that this squad is perfect. I love Precision. I think I love that we get to watch this guy grow. I know I think he's a previous pro in Gears of War, was it, Tony?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're watching him grow in Halo, and this is another one of those kind of stories where you're coming from another game. You came to Halo because it was big, but you stayed because you loved the game, and now he gets to feel what we feel and why we all stay in Halo. It's great. And then Huss always playing matchmaking. Same with Ironical. They're always practicing. I love when I see people in matchmaking with me. It is good to see them in every single game. It's good to see them because I know that these guys are putting in the work hours that no one sees, and that's what I like. It's one thing to, oh, look at me, I'm practicing, I'm doing scrims, blah, blah, blah. No, the hours that you put off of the scrims, the hours that you put in by yourself, that you have to work on yourself, that's what will create diamonds at the end of the day. And so I love the squad. I hope they do well, and I hope they stick together.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that Precision and Huss ended up on the same team, because I always try to find different players that I'll keep my eye out on, and I'll kind of bring them back. Early last season, I was talking about the Falcateds and the Mortalies and different underrated players, the Taulics and the Swishes, and then now everybody else is on their bandwagon. So late this season, I found new players, and one of those I usually try to find underrated players that are in the top 4, top 6 category, and then some of the ones that come out of open bracket, top 16, top 12, and 2 of the players were Huss and Precision. I said that Huss is a player that played well beyond his years. He was literally coming in looking like a veteran, and I think people didn't see that. But I was seeing these game-winning plays and game-changing plays that value may not come up on the scoreboard, but they're plays that had to be made. Otherwise, they're game-losing plays. So, for him to play well beyond his years like that, and then Precision was a lot simpler. It's in his name. The man's a damage dealer.
I love that.
Damage dealer. He can win pivs. You put him in open space, he does what he wants. Nirvanical, not only great mechanics, but also as a play caller as well. And then Swish, him and Huss both being left off of that team meta roster. Huss being dropped first to bring in Septify, and then Swish being dropped to steal Bone from this very roster. Like you said, there's a reason why Huss's old team was called Leftovers. Like when you feel like you're left over, you got something to fight for. Like you said, you fight that much harder. Yep. I say it all the time. Time heals all wounds, but it still leaves scars. Yeah. So no matter what, when you go up against a former team, it means that much more to win. So I love Avengers. SSG, they're such a they Optic and Native Red are the 3 most objective efficient teams that are out there. In my opinion, in order to beat those teams, you have to overslay against them.
I agree with that. I agree with that, actually. Yeah.
Even if they're losing slays, they can still win games even with losing in slays. And I think that's valuable right there. But when it comes to SSG, I always all right, you're in the middle of Optic. and Native Red. Like, you're better than Native Red. You're not as good as Optic, in my opinion. I mean, you could beat Optic. I just think Optic win 7 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, in my opinion, they match up. And I'm always like, what do SSG need to do to start legitimately fighting for a top 2 spot again?
Good question.
Now that FaZe exists right now, like I don't even know if it's like a roster change. Like I don't think so. I like the roster a lot, to be honest with you. Is it more practice? Is it maybe taking practice more seriously? Is it like you know what? I'm not gonna pretend I have all the answers, but you know, there's so much talent there. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say they started like a week before the event practicing, like or something like that. I remember like hearing about that. Like I just think like, you know, I think Bound's always grinding. I think he likes the game. I don't think he loves the game like he loves Halo 5. But you know, and I'm not a fly in the wall, so I don't know if their practice schedule looks good. I just assume, based off of their results, that they are not practicing, and I feel like they get their practice at the beginning of the tournament, and that's why they start so slow.
It just something about it. I just don't know what it is, and like I guess you're top 3 in the league right now, but you have a target on your back.
Mm-hmm.
Native Red are on your tail. Native White are on your tail. Avengers are on your tail. And although these 3 teams aren't better than you, these 3 teams can beat you. You don't have to be the better team to win the series. You just got to be better in 3 games.
That's right.
There's a lot of mapping modes. Unless your name is Optic, you have weaknesses in your map pool.
That's right. Yep.
So, either way, I like SSG. I like SSG. I would even say I love SSG. I want to fall in love with SSG because, like you said, I love the org is
so good.
We love the org going in, and then gained so much respect for the org after being there and experiencing the
Snowdown,
how much hard work they put in their offices and everything that the history means. I want to see them actually turn the tour they gave to us into a virtual tour.
Yes, and
put that on YouTube and find a way to really integrate that, whether it's into like the tournament that we're gonna have later on in the year that SSG's gonna throw. Maybe interview and maybe put that into skits, or that tour that we had, turn it virtual and put it in front of the mass audience. I think you guys are gonna love it. The SSG are great, put it that way. So I'm ranting at this point.
You're okay.
But 3-1 for SSG. Avengers are really good. They're knocking on the door of being a legitimate top 4 contender. I'm not gonna call them a top 4 team because again, you still have Native Red, Native White in there, and you have 3 teams that are legitimately fighting for top 4, and then other teams that can make it as well. But SSG are still the top 3 gatekeepers, and you know, as level sitters. Semifinals: Optic 3-0 Native Red. Talk to me, Tim.
Well, quickly, Tony, I want to interject if you don't mind. I'm sorry. I just got word from the chat that there is an announcement that Straight Sick is retiring.
I was gonna say that for the end of the show.
Oh, you were? I think it's. I'm sorry. I think it's huge, and it hits my heart really hard, Tony, because we can talk about it at the end of the show. This makes me sad because I used to play with this guy every day in free for all. We. All the way through Halo 3 to Halo 2, like this guy was always like I looked up to him. His dad used to come to his events. Just so there's a lot of heart to heart there with me for him. So this was really sad. We'll talk about it later on. Just kind of. Yeah. Even
if we don't get to it, I know it's gonna be a long show. Like this is gonna be like a major topic for like next week's show or something.
We can talk about it when we have time.
There's definitely gonna be talks about it for sure.
Very sad. Very sad. So
I just want to give him. I want to give this more time.
I agree with you.
I feel like
I agree with you, Tony.
It's gonna be tough. We're only 15 minutes in, and we're not even done with the brackets.
Yeah.
So, well, trust me, we are 100% gonna talk about Straight Sick, and we're gonna give him, the same time as like a bracket review because I want to go over like his whole career.
That's a great idea. That's why you're the lead. I love that, Tony. Okay. Yeah. I mean, all right. So you were asking me about Optic Native Red. Is that correct?
Yeah, Optic Native Red,
Okay.
Optic 3.0 Native Red.
Yep. So I think this is this is just Optic standard. There's not too much to say about it. I don't think the play styles don't mesh, because even though Native Red have found a way to maybe kind of segment their pacing, so like they tend to slow down the game, they tend to speed up the game. Optic know what's going on at all times. Optic control the pace of the game. So that's what I think kind of goes against what Native Red does. Now, Native Red had some good matches versus like earlier Optic, if I'm not mistaken. But then once, Optic started to, learn, how they played, their tendencies, the over aggression, I think they just kind of have read them at this point. And I don't think those games were very close if I remember correctly. So, yeah, this is just Optic standard. These guys are disciplined. Optic are very disciplined. They've worked on this. I think since Orlando was the big one, every event they worked on it. Every event, and Lucid said it himself. And I mentioned it before even Lucid said it, because I could see, the way they were playing, under the lights, calming down, making sure to make the correct plays, not overreacting on plays. And that's what makes them really good versus the Native Red, who I think would overreact on plays in under the lights. And even though they didn't at Worlds, they got third. Yeah, just a mismatch there.
Yeah, I talk about Optic, SSG, and Native Red being the three most objective efficient teams in the league, but the way they approach objective efficiency is a little bit different. I feel like Optic always had an advanced understanding how to change the pace, and their default pacing would be a little bit slower, I guess more defensively, like a bend but don't break, where Native Red has that objective efficiency, but it's more of like a scrappier, more of an offensive-driven, speed-driven. So, again, I talk about it all the time. I have a certain game style that I love, and and that I draw inspirations from the Shopify Rebellions, and even from the Optics and whatnot.
Yeah.
But there's different teams like FaZes and Native Reds who play a lot more of a faster pace, especially FaZe, like a Slay heavy form and whatnot. It's all about play styles with individual players coming together as a team and how they want to go about things and how they want to stylistically.
Yeah.
So stylistically, I think Optic are just a bad matchup for Native Red, because on top of the fact that Native Red can get overslayed, and I think Optic are talented enough to do that, I also generally like Optic's ability to change the pace, especially when it comes to slowing the game down, and I trust that a little bit more than Native Red slowing it down, slowing their game down. I just trust Optics a little bit more. So I think they're both objective efficient. They just approach the game in a little bit of different ways, and neither one being wrong, but stylistically Optic have the edge.
Well
Although said. No excuse for Native Red not winning a game. Again, same thing.
Agreed.
You're too talented. I know Optic are Optic, so on and so forth, but I think Native Red can win a game against them. I think they can win two. I think they can beat them. Honestly, now people might think I'm crazy. I think Native Red can beat Optic in the series. It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be 9 times out of 10, but 1 time out of 10, hell yeah. I think Native Red are good. A lot closer of a matchup, Tim, was FaZe and SSG. Game 5, FaZe 3-2 Space Station Gaming.
And that was on Pit Flag, correct? The 3-2, was it? Am I correct on that? I'm just trying to picture the game of the series in my head. I don't.
Game 5 would have to be a
Slayer.
Slayer. So
that's right. Okay. That was in the series, though, I think.
I was taking a nap preparing for when we cast it, so
it's all good.
I did not personally see the series. I apologize.
I think
I'll find out for you though. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I think one of the games is a Pit, and I believe it was. I think I'm old and I forget things. So anyway, talking about this matchup, I think I want to talk a little bit more about FaZe. I think that they, I talk about SSG and how they, they start kind of a little bit slower in tournaments, et cetera, et cetera. We're in the upper bracket finals right now. This is do or die time. Obviously they have the losers bracket to fall back on. And I think that's a factor in their minds. I really do. I think in their head, they think, I don't think they want to lose. I don't think they go into, don't worry, guys. If we lose, we'll go into the losers bracket. Not a big deal. We'll just fight our way through. No, I don't think that's what they're thinking. But I think in the back of their head, they have a fallback if they need one. Whereas if they... Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I thought you were taking a break in your statement. I apologize.
That's okay.
I just wanted to update you. FaZe won 1-0 on Argyle CTF, won 50-49 Game 2 Slayer on Recharge. 2 very close games.
Okay.
SSG won 4-2 on King of the Hill Live Fire. SSG 260-214 on Streets Oddball, and then like you said, Pit Slayer was Game 5 where FaZe won 50-46. I promise I get your results. I didn't mean
thank
to
you.
I just wanted
no,
to
no,
that.
Thank you. I can't believe I completely screwed up. Thought it was Slack, but that's good. Okay, so Pit Slayer. So that's why I had it in my head as the last game. Got it. Okay. So I think so. When it comes to SSG, like I said, I think they start slow. Now, listen, please, guys, when you hear me talk about FaZe, do not think about the bias that I have, because I'm fighting against the bias that I have. So when I speak, I want you to understand that I'm coming at it at all angles. FaZe are not good online, okay? They're not a good online team, all right? And that's just the if you look at all the teams, you look at Optic, you look at FaZe, you look at Space Station, I think that FaZe are the weakest online team. Can
I ask you a question to follow that up?
Please do.
Are FaZe as bad online as SSG? I'll change that. Rate FaZe and SSG on 10-star scale.
Yep.
In 2 categories.
Okay.
FaZe on LAN, FaZe online, Space Station on LAN, Space Station online.
Space Station online is a 7. On LAN, they're a 9 or 10. FaZe online is like a 3 or a 4, in my opinion, and on LAN they're a 10. Now you have Renegade, who hates online. You watch any of his streams, oh my word, he complains like I've never heard before, and I get it. Online, this game is rough. I get it. Royal 2 is in Canada, okay? He's struggling. Snakebite has internet problems every other day. The guy, he was talking about it. Like their last Game 5, we're not going to talk about, I'm sorry, not Game 5, Game 7. We're not going to talk about it, but I don't want to spoil it. But he said he was at like 80 to 100 ping. Like this team is not very good online. And I think that, to the start of this tournament, I think that they won, obviously FaZe had kind of 3-0 Cloud9. They go into Space Station Gaming. And then you can see after that, we'll talk about who they lose to next. They were not top level FaZe at that point. Like, so I think that this matchup was close just due to the fact that, whether it's like not vibing or whatever, the online situation, with Snakebite or Roll 2 or whoever, I think that was a factor. And then I think SSG played better. And that's why it was so close, personally. Does that sound biased, Tony? Be honest with me. Does this sound biased? I don't know. I don't think so. Is it? Do I need to step back?
I don't even know if I would even use the word bias. I think I disagree with the evaluation.
Okay.
Slightly. I think FaZe are as bad of an online team as SSG are a bad online team. So that's why I personally don't give excuses to FaZe when it comes to online in this matchup.
Okay.
But I think it's a lot closer than what you put. You said FaZe are 3 stars online,
yeah.
And SSG are 7 stars online. I would argue and say that, like, in my opinion, FaZe are, say, 5, we'll say 4.8 out of 5 when it comes to on LAN.
Okay.
Or sorry, we said 10 stars. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 10.
So 9.5 out of 10 on LAN. Mm-hmm. SSG are 9.5 out of 10 on LAN as well, or maybe like 9.1 because I give FaZe a little bit of advantage. But then as far as online, I would give SSG maybe like I think maybe like a 7.5, and I would say FaZe are like a 7.9.
Really?
But I think FaZe are still better than SSG are online.
Okay.
I think even though FaZe are better on LAN, even though SSG are better on LAN, I still think FaZe are better than SSG online. And that's kind of like where my scale is at.
Okay.
But it's just that's what the reason why we have 2 people on the show is to have 2 different opinions, 2 different point of views. I'm not gonna disrespect your opinion or your point of view. But you just asked me a question, so I just answered it.
Of course.
So again, I don't think it's a bias. I just think I just have a different opinion.
That's what I want to make sure about. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I just have a different opinion on where FaZe and SSG are at, and that's why I made you answer that question.
Okay.
Because that's why I didn't give FaZe an excuse of the online play.
Yeah.
But either way, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say I'm just very like I pay attention to I don't want to be biased during a cast, so like I make sure in my head, even though I really like FaZe as a squad, and of course I like some individual players. Common is one of them. He's in the chat right now. Common, I like you. No, but like I have individual players that I like, and I have teams that I like. I have to set that bias straight because I don't want to bring bias into my cast. So that's why I asked you. I appreciate you answering. Personally, in my honest opinion, FaZe versus Space Station on LAN, FaZe 3-0. All day, every day, no problem. Especially at the beginning of a tournament. If this was losers bracket semis, we have a different story. I think it'd be a little closer. But over here, where Space Station have a chance to, still play through the losers bracket, I think FaZe 3-0 them on LAN. Personally, I think FaZe. But anyway, regardless, that's my take on those two teams. And like I said before, and I'm gonna say it again. I'm excited to see FaZe grow. I still think they have growing to do, which is so crazy if you think about it, because we're talking about two best. Okay, I'm spoiling a little bit here. One best of 7 in Charlotte, and potentially another one for this tournament. So, like, I think that's crazy to me. I think that they, with how much chemistry Optic have built up, and for FaZe to come in and be able to do that is insane. So, anyway, go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I like your thought process when it comes to SSG playing early in the tournament rather than later.
Okay.
And I like where you go with that, because you said that they play better going later into tournaments. Yes. And like from a mental standpoint, like I feel like I'll put myself out there or everybody out there, like during the face of adversity. You're playing basketball. Last shot to ice it out. You're down by 2. You make this shot and you win. I was okay in those moments, or I was good at those moments, but I just leaned on technique and leaned on practice and leaned on where I wasn't like icy.
Okay.
I feel like Space Station Gaming are icy.
That's Tony. I'll be honest. That's a really good way to put it. That's really good. Go ahead.
I feel like during the face of adversity, like backs against the wall, tournament on the line, do or die, SSG or icy, and step up to another level. And I think FaZe are also good, but I don't want to say FaZe aren't icy. I just think FaZe just lean back to their, okay, we know what we want to do. This is the game plan. This is the game plan. We practice, we practice 2-minute drills. We've done this time and time again. When this happens, do this. When this happens, do that. This happens, and they just talk it out, and they win based on a game plan. I'm not trying to say that FaZe aren't icy. I feel like it's just two different ways to win. Okay. So that's why I kind of liked how you mentioned like FaZe in the early SSG in the early game versus the late game. I just think Space in the game are just icy as hell.
So can I respond to that real quick? I'm sorry.
Yeah, please, absolutely.
Real fast. I know this is probably
this is going to be an hour and a half long show. I'm
gonna be honest with you guys. This is one of the funnest podcasts we've had. I don't know why. I'm feeling the vibe is great here right now for some reason. Okay, for me, I think that the reason that you feel that way, and 100% I agree, FaZe not as icy as SSG, is because of the addition.
I don't want to say not
as icy. Okay, different ices. Different ices.
Sorry.
Yeah. Different forms of icy is because of the addition of Renegade. I feel like even in that Charlotte tournament, there was a someone in the chat actually said this. This is not my word. That's why I'm going to say it, because it's not my word. Halo immaturity in a sense, to the point where like you're let's say it's a 48-48. You're screaming out call outs. He's back, Bay, one shot. You know what I mean? Whereas I think the rest of FaZe, as a squad of 3 who have been together with Lethal, actually remove Renegade and put Lethal in there. FaZe is the iciest roster in the game. You don't agree with that?
I still think that like, and maybe I'm just describing it wrong, but maybe there's a different way, and I'll try to word it better. But I just think like FaZe can win close games based on
practice.
They've been there, done that, based on practice, based on fundamentals, and based on like knowing what the game plan is. as opposed to like just going out there and like whether it was Renegade, whether it's Lethal, I think it's the same blueprint in my opinion.
Okay.
Where I think SSG just like hit another level.
Okay.
When their backs are against the wall. And like I said, maybe I'm describing it wrong and whatnot. But I'll work on it. But either way, the series was close as hell.
Yes.
And I mean, think about it this way: FaZe up 2-0 in the series. Game number 1 was 1-0 on Argyle CTF. So I got to tell you how close that is. Game is 50-49 Slayer on Recharge. Do I have to tell you how close that is? Like think about it this way: we're imagine there's a world where SSG get that one cap. Imagine there's a world where SSG play their life one more time in the early game and get one more kill toward the end.
Do they beat
this
Optic?
Could have been a 3-0 for SSG.
Do they beat Optic, Tony?
I'm sorry?
Do they beat Optic next? What do you think? If SSG win against FaZe in this upper bracket semifinals, can they beat Optic?
Can they? Yes. If SSG 3-0 FaZe, I think SSG beat Optic in the winners finals.
Wow.
If SSG win 3-2,
yeah, like
FaZe did, I think Optic beat them 3-1, 3-0.
You're starting to get the mentals that I think about, and I love that. I 100% agree with you. It's a confidence thing. It's going in. I 100%. You know what? For the first time in my life, I agree with you, Tony. No, I'm just kidding. That's a really good point. I 100% agree. Awesome. That was all I wanted to ask.
I feel like in this made up world, we got to like set up the plate, I guess.
Parameters. Yeah,
that's
why
I said it. That's what. If SSG 3-0, I think they beat Optic. But any other result, I think Optic beat them. I think SSG and Optic are good. I think SSG can beat Optic. I just think Optic still are the better team. Mm-hmm. And then eventually Optic do 3-0 FaZe after FaZe do get the win. I was very surprised by this.
Me too.
And I'm sorry. I'll throw you the floor if you want. I can pull up the game types again if you want. But either way, talk to me about this. If you want me to pull up the game types, let me know.
If you want to. If it doesn't take that long, I was very surprised as well. Because regardless of internet problems, I don't know what happened. This is the thing about online Halo. You never know what happened in this series. And yes, okay, here comes the bias check again. This is tough because I'm going to sit here and say, oh, you never know what happened to FaZe. They could have had online problems and high ping and stuff. Yeah, it does sound very biased. But in my opinion, you never know because of all the problems that they do have as a team. And they're very vocal about these problems. I don't hear Optic talking about their problems online ever. I don't know about you or anyone in the chat. I don't hear them talking about their problems online ever. And that's because they're in Texas. And Texas is the Texas.
Luce is in Florida though, right?
Is he? I don't know if they went to the facility. If he's in Florida, that's fine. Florida, okay. So yeah. So
I'm not sure either.
Luce is the best in the freaking game. He plays on. You can play on a 10,000 ping and still win. He's really good. I think he's amazing. He's a really good player.
To quickly interrupt, I just want to say 250 to 200.
Okay.
Stronghold Streets Optic.
Okay.
Live Fire Slayer 50 to 42 Optic. A 2-2 tie on Pit, which led to a replay, which ended up being now they could have been 2-2 tied, then a crash, could have been 2-2 tie, and then game over.
Yeah.
But in some way, shape, or form, the game was tied.
Yep.
And then we moved into a 1-0 for Optic, which sounds like it was first cap wins it.
Yep.
So I'm going to assume that Optic won it that way. So
I remember.
250 to 200, 50 to 42, and then a tie into a 1-0 on Pit Flag.
That's very close. Okay, so yeah, I think that last game kind of checked. Obviously, Optic ended up winning. You know what happened? I remember what happened. In the reset, Optic played flawless. It was Empyrean. I remember. It was Empyrean Flag, you said, right? Am I correct? Yeah.
Empyrean Flag, yes.
Reset, okay. First cap wins. Yeah, Optic played flawless. They had 2 flawless breaks. They had one when the game started for the series, and then they had for game 3, and then in the reset they had another flawless cap. We're talking. You got on call with me actually when the cap happened, and you were like, "Wow, that was fast." Both caps were 15 seconds. Yeah, it was nuts. Like I want to watch it back because I want to know what the heck they did. I've never seen a cap that fast. They got the slays really quick, and they just capped 15 seconds. And I think that's why, But dude, yeah, I can't sit here and complain that FaZe had online problems or whatever. It is what it is. Optic destroyed them. Optic played really well. Some games are close, but Optic at the end of the day, they played flawless Halo when it mattered the most in that game number 3. So they closed it out there.
Just let you guys know, we are 5 minutes past the hour, and and if it's okay with you, I'm gonna call that it's probably gonna be like another probably 20 to 30 minutes in the show left. If that's okay with you.
That's absolutely fine with me. You're the man. You're the man.
I am the man. Like I said, I think FaZe are amazing. I think FaZe are top 2 in the world. I think during the preseason, I was a believer in scrims and the qualifiers, and I thought FaZe were going to beat out Optic on LAN and online for a very long time. I'm happy that it's closer online than it was in preseason, and I'm shocked that FaZe got 3-0'd and swept. It's not the FaZe that we know. Now, eventually, these two do match up again. Spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
But I was shocked, to say the least, that Optic come up with the 3-0. But I'm not shocked at the result that Optic made it to the grand finals through the winners bracket. I think Optic have a level of competitive maturity that's already has gone through an entire year together.
Well said.
Like, one of the reasons why Optic are elite in the best of the world is they bully you. They bully you by being the most well-rounded team in the world. Like, it's not even like bullying with like an overwhelming offense. Like yes, some of the players like Formo and Lucid, have these standout games, but I feel like they're not overslaying. They're not like, they're not, even when they're playing like Pit Slayer, like lots of times they'll slay out and pull back to their side. Like, they're not punishing you like crazy. They're just so well-rounded that it's hard to find the weakness against them, whether it's game type wise. So they're one of the best map pools in the world, like where everybody has a lot more weaker game types than they do, or even like in the game where they make such little mistakes that you have to not only be playing your perfect game, but then you have to be better than they are, and they happen to have a ton of skill as well. Like, so like it's any team that goes up against them, you have to have the skill of a FaZe or an SSG, and you have to be playing your version of perfect Halo, because they don't have weaknesses, which is crazy to think about.
I agree.
Optic 3-0. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say I agree. That's it. You put it really nicely.
Optic 3-0 make it into the grand finals. For the sake of time, I'm gonna rapid fire a round. Maybe I'm gonna rapid fire probably like two rounds.
Okay.
We'll see. Let's see how they go. Proton Gaming. You know what? I'm gonna read off the teams as well, just in case. I know a lot of people don't know all of the teams right off the rip. So, Proton Gaming 3-1 Meta Elite. Proton Gaming, you have Breaking Shot, Posey, Common, and Monster. Team Meta Elite, Super CC, Septify, Bohm, and Mortally. Proton Gaming 3-1 them. Native White 3-1 Sentinels. Native White, obviously Tap Buns, Barcode, McWin, and Gilkey 3-1 over Sentinels. Lethal, Sparty, King Nick, and Collect. Cloud9, Shopify Rebellion. We talked about the Cloud9 roster earlier. Shopify Rebellion, Mental, Ryan, Rain, and Carbea. It was Shopify Rebellion at 3-1 over Cloud9. And then this is a matchup, I guess, if there's any matchup to hone in on. Native White and Sentinels and Avengers and G1, probably the best ones. Avengers 3-2 over G1. We talked about Avengers, but G1 started the elimination bracket, and that's Boo Boo Doo Falcated, Suspector, and Sabinator. Is there any matchup out of those, that round one, that you want to talk about?
I just have a couple comments. Mortally is really annoying online. I hate playing against him. It's the worst experience in the world. He just slithers away like a snake and always stays alive. It's annoying. G1 versus Avengers. I saw a lot of hate in the chat from previous G1 members. I'm not going to say who. When Avengers ended up beating them there. I think G1 is capable of so much more. I don't know what went on, what kind of happened in that whole thing, but I think G1 will prove to be one of the better teams, going into this next LAN event. I think they have a lot of work to do, though. That's essentially it for talking points.
Yeah, I'm gonna just chime in on two real quick. Native White and Sentinels, I'm excited. I think there's gonna be a little bit of rivalry. I think Sentinels are a little bit closer to a tier where like Shopify Rebellion are right now. It's like them, Shopify Rebellion, maybe like a Proton Gaming. Maybe you could put Avengers there. I think Native White are in the same breath as Native Red, and maybe Avengers up there along with Native White and Native Red, like really legitimately fighting for top four. I think Sentinels gonna get better. And I think this matchup is gonna be better for them. But I think even if it does, I like Native White over Sentinels almost every single time stylistically. I think Native White do the things that you have to do in order to beat Sentinels. Sentinels are objective efficient. They are very good defensively. They're very good at pace control. But Native White can overslay you. And they're fine with that. Like they're like, okay, cool. If we don't grab the ball right away, that's fine. We'll just slay you again. And eventually that ball's gonna get grabbed. Like, yeah. So I feel like Native White do what you need to do in order to beat teams that are like highly objective efficient. And that's why like I'm gonna find that matchup between them and Sentinels and them and Native Red really interesting, because I like what they bring to the table. I think stylistically it's just like match, like watch like, you know, the number one defense in the NFL versus number one offense. Like, cool. Right. But who's what's better? Shit, who knows? It's gonna be fun to watch. Hell yeah, you know, like yeah. The Avengers are very good. I even said that, like, if you're gonna put them in the same category as Proton, Shopify, and Sentinels, you got to put them in like that upper bracket. Okay. Because they're closer to Native Red and Native White. They're getting there.
Yeah.
I had G1 as the number 4 ranked team in the world.
Okay.
I said that eventually G1 would surpass SSG. And I talked about this multiple times. We've seen them play good. We've seen them show moments of greatness, but I believe that this team has elite potential. Top to me, if you're guaranteed top 4 walking into the door, that's elite to me. If you're fighting, you're legitimately fighting for a 3rd place spot and whatnot, going toe to toe with SSG every tournament, online, doesn't matter. That's elite to me. You're in elite category with Optic, FaZe, and Space Station Gaming. G1 have not been playing like an elite team.
Nope.
I'm sorry, and again, it's not being mean. Again, a preseason, I had a very high expectations. I still do. They have not met those expectations, and I don't. And the worst part is, I don't know what the issue is. It's certainly not talent. Stylistically, I think the players match. I think they mesh well with each other. Like I think G1 are so good. This is the time where I think you need to have like, and again, that does not mean saying like, oh, team changes, yada yada. Like have a players only meeting, get into a Discord call, maybe KS initiate it and then leave it, and say, look, everybody speak openly, everybody speak honestly. What is the issues with our inconsistencies? Why are we losing to Avengers and Proton? No shade towards them.
Yeah.
Why are we not hitting the potential that we know that we can get? And treat it like an open forum and whatnot. Hey, get it out there. Maybe it's gonna get slightly ugly. Maybe someone's gonna call somebody. You know what? I don't like that you bait this. Maybe I don't like that you do this. But I don't like that you do that. But I think a talk has to be had.
Gotta get it out.
In addition to the film review and whatnot, because I doubt that they haven't done. I'm not saying that. I doubt that they haven't done the work. I know they have. So there must be some kind of block between the work and the results.
Right.
And sometimes it can be a personal. It can be a personal something. Like, hey, look, like if me and Tim aren't gelling in the cast and whatnot, and I see something's wrong, we got to talk it out. Like, you know what, Tony, I love your jokes and whatnot, but sometimes you go a little bit too far.
Yeah.
Would you mind pulling back a little bit? Or whatever. Not saying it's happened. Whatever it is. Like you know what? I apologize. I'm not gonna say you're pansy or something. Like, you know what? I apologize. Sometimes I do try to push the envelope, whatever it is and whatnot.
Right.
I respect that. Going in, I'm gonna address that and whatnot. And is it a tough conversation? Yes. But is it a conversation that needs to be had? Also, yes. Especially if you plan on staying together, number one, and you plan on hitting goals
together.
And plan on hitting every single goal and plan on like getting into that elite status.
Yep.
So maybe I'm in the wrong spot, but I'm saying there's some kind of block between the result and the work. And I'm thinking maybe it's a conversation, but you guys, I don't know. I'm a cash trump from the outside looking in.
I think you're right.
What the hell do I know?
Honestly, I think you're right. But go ahead.
But G1 get knocked out in the top 12 because they made out of pool play. Native with all that. I'm gonna rapid fire this one, and if you want to talk about either one of these, you're more than welcome. So Native White 3-0 Proton Gaming. Avengers 3-2 Rebellion.
Not too much to talk about. Rebellion is not showcasing what I thought they were capable of. I mean, we're talking about championship mental, championship Ryanoob and Rain being together. Carme is I think, very good player who's on the up and up. I don't know what's going on with that roster either. They got one of the smartest, I would say one of the smartest players in the game, mentally wise, in Ryanoob. I think he still has a really, really strong mind for the game. If you watch his YouTube videos, he understood the game like the minute it came out. He understood stuff. I think he still has a very strong mental for the game, but it's just not working out. And I don't know what to do with them either. But I also think Avengers are coming in hot. I think this team is hungry. They look at the next series. We'll talk about that in a second, but they're hungry. Okay, so yeah, it's gonna be tough to beat.
Yeah, I'll be quick with this. I think Proton Gaming are better than getting 3-0'd by Native White. I'm not saying that Proton have to win that matchup, but I don't like 3-0s. I really never say a series gonna be 3-0 because I think 3-0s are tough. Like Proton are not trash,
especially in the top 12. Yeah, I agree.
So that did surprise me. Even though I still had Native White over Proton regardless. I guess I have a different opinion on this, like than you do when it comes to Rebellion.
Okay.
Because in my opinion, so the way I look at it is like whether a team is underperforming or overperforming is based on what your expectations are for them. I expect Shopify Rebellion to be a top 8 team fighting for top 6, and they get top 8, and they were fighting for top 6. They won to go and gateway for getting top 6. Yeah. So I guess to me, I'm not disappointed at Shopify Rebellion because I don't have them as a top 4 team.
It's impossible.
And maybe that's disrespectful. I don't know. Maybe, but I don't like. I have them as a top 8 and a top 6 team. Could they get top 4 at an event? Yeah, sure. Anybody can.
Mm-hmm.
No, reality check can. You know, if you run hot. But consistently, I don't have them as a top 4 team in the world. So if they get top 8 and they get top 6 at Charlotte and maybe even again on land because they're better on land than they are online, like great. But I'm not mad at them for not doing so. I'll be mad if they get top 16.
Yeah.
I hear that. Know? Yeah, I hear that. Then I'll get mad at them. So I think Avengers are really good. I think Rebellion are really good as well. I don't know. Maybe I'm being disrespectful. Let me know in the chat if I am. But I feel like they got top 8. Mm-hmm. They were top 8 team. Cool.
Yeah, I don't want to hammer too much on it myself. I was just like thinking with Rain and Ryanoob as 2 fourths of the United roster that placed what 3rd, 4th, 5th or whatever at LAN. So like, I mean, obviously they had Sparty. For me, it's like those players are capable. You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah, but I'm not comparing where we're at now versus.
Oh, I understand that. You can't.
United got second. You know, top 3 at
you can't.
At Raleigh and Anaheim, but you know, Native Red weren't this good.
Right.
FaZe weren't this
it's
good.
A very
Native
different
White
time.
was an Avengers with it. Like I agree. Like maybe they have those type of expectations for themselves, but I don't even compare the two personally.
It's a very different time in Halo. I agree, and Avengers have kind of taken taken the league by storm. In my opinion, I think they're going to continue to do so if they stick together. So yeah, I mean, I see when I look at Rebellion, I see championship they're not going to win. I'm not saying that, and no offense to them. And maybe they'll prove me wrong. I'm just saying I see caliber, championship caliber on that team, and that's why I see a very high ceiling for them. I see that they can improve drastically. I don't see it yet. So anyway,
good. And hopefully they prove me wrong. Hopefully we get to the point where they're consistently getting top 4. Maybe a few top 3s in there and whatnot. That'd be amazing.
That'd be a miracle. Incredible.
That'd be great. I don't have them there right now, but
agreed.
There's things that change throughout the course of a season. More practice, more scrims. Team changes, whether it's with them or other teams around, and maybe they prove me wrong. Space Station Gaming 3-1, Native White, and with that win, propelled them into the top 4. Did you want to talk about that matchup?
You know what I'm going to say. Space Station Gaming turned on the lights. They woke up. That's it. We're in losers bracket round 3. We're about to be in the losers bracket semifinal. Now it's time to play. That's what they do every tournament. It is annoying because I know they're really good. Native White is a really good roster as well. But we're talking caliber here. We're talking Space Station caliber, and then we're talking Native White caliber. Will that change in the future? Maybe. There's still Space Station's been around longer. Obviously, they had Renegade and then switched Bound. They've had their time. They had a lot of season 1. Now going into season 2, and Native White still has a lot of time that they need to put in. So that's what I'm going to say is that for that, Space Station woke up. They turned on the lights. They came to play, and that's it. Finally.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like Native White versus SSG is I guess similar to the winners bracket matchup where it was Native Red versus Optic, and I feel like Native White do what you need to do in order to beat a matchup stylistic like Space Station Gaming, but SSG have a ton of skill to go along with it. So where Native White, they want to overslay you, they want to punish you, they want to put you on respawn and make you feel overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that SSG are too skilled to do that consistently versus them, at least right now. I think Native White are gonna get better. They're still due. We'll see. This is gonna be a matchup that you see for time and time again. Because I hate to sound like a broken record, but Native White, Native Red are legitimately fighting for top 4.
They're on the cusp.
So in order to get to top 3, they're gonna run into SSG. There's only when you run into when you're going from top 12 to top 8. There's 4 different outcomes of teams that you can run into.
Right.
When you go to top 8 to top 6, there's 2 other outcomes that you can go into. You know what I mean? When you're going from top 3 to top 4, there's only one other team you're going through. They're legitimately the gatekeepers of getting into top 3. So Native White are going to continue to test their abilities against Space Station Gaming, because if they want to get through top 3, they're going to have to go through them over and over again.
It's true.
Lots
of specified VOD review, in my opinion. Yeah, that's where you go. You do scrims and you take that VOD review and you really study that, because you're 100% right.
Trust me, McWin does a ton of he does a ton of VOD review. He has good information on everybody in the league.
That's awesome.
He definitely doesn't skip out on that. And yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna continue to get tested against SSG, and as they grow, we'll see if they're able to get over the hump. Not saying they will, not saying they won't. It's tough to gauge, because it's always tough to gauge where SSG are, because you only see land a few times a year.
Yeah.
And that's where it matters most. And I think SSG are much better on land. I think Native White are very due. So not surprised here. SSG are good. Excited to see where this matchup goes in the future. Native Red 3-2 Avengers. If you want to talk about that.
Not too much to say. Avengers are on the up and up, and I think that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Was this a honeymoon phase? No, because they did it previously to four top teams. So I don't think that I think the honeymoon phase, question mark is over. I think they're really, really solid, and Native Red just, they've been together they're the longest standing team right now in history, right? I know they made a little switch or whatever with Super CC. I get it. But I
got back to the original rosters. I mean, right. Super CC was at before
little pieces.
Wally.
Yeah.
But I said I give it to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So the longest standing team in the league, which is amazing, and Yeah, they show that here, obviously, but Avengers take 2 games from them, which is crazy. Avengers are on a path, and I can't wait to see what happens at Arlington.
Say we fast forward, 2 months down the road.
Okay.
And Avengers have more time under their belt with both Huss and Swish, Jordan Ironical Precision. And we go to a game 5 again versus Native Red. By the way, 50-42, Native Red won down only 8 kills, which I mean still a good win, but not like a dominant win.
Right, it's not a stake, right?
So fast forward 2 months down the road, more time. We'll say 3. In fact, you know what? Let's go all the way to what we have. We have DreamHack, Dallas. Then after that, what's the next one? Like Fort Worth or Dallas or Arlington or something.
Yeah, something like
I think the Optic event is Arlington. I want to say.
I believe
and
so.
And that's like another land. So we'll go to like not DreamHack Dallas. But we'll say Optic, which is like the second to next land.
Okay.
And they happen to match up, and they happen to go to a game 5. Do you think Avengers win that?
Online, yes.
On land.
On land, no. I think Native Red win on land.
Sure.
I just they proved to me that they can play under the lights.
Precision plays from Hawaii, by the way.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Does that change? I'm just trying. Does that change your opinion at all?
No, because in my opinion, when you are again, I got to bring up Worlds again. I'm sorry. When you're at Worlds, the biggest tournament of the year, the tournament that every single player plays for, the tournament every single player practices for, and you perform that well to place top 3, you are icy. You play well under pressure, and land environment is no problem to you. I didn't think that back in Kansas City. I just thought it was a fluke because the crowd was around them and they had hometown advantage, and that was it. But they proved me wrong at Worlds. These guys are fine under pressure, and I think this will be a 3-0 on land on the main stage.
Wow.
Yeah, I listen. There's no disrespect to Precision, Huss, Neuronical, at all, and Swish. No disrespect to these guys. We're talking different calibers. You have to almost have that vetting phase where you go to an event, you place really well, you've done well under pressure, and yes, all 4 of these players have played well. I get it. Like Precision is a champion in Gears of War, but it's not the same. We're talking, HCS main stage and a different. To me, you gotta be able to perform under that massive pressure, and then I can say, okay, yeah, this will be good. But they're playing from the comfort of their own homes, and I don't give any disrespect to them. Like I said, they're freaking phenomenal players, all 4 of them on Avengers. But yeah, I gave Native Red that one all day, 3-0 on land.
For the sake of time, I'm gonna keep mine short and sweet.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say that I'm not as confident as you are.
Okay.
Because I think Avengers are taking that they really are starting to take that next step into their competitive maturity, into the team that they are gonna be. Like I feel like Native Red are very good, obviously, and again, top 4 contenders. But I think Avengers are like one tick away from that, and I know the Native Red obviously can beat Avengers, even 3 months down the road, next land. But I could also say the same thing, vice versa. I think Avengers are really, really good.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna say yes or no. I'm not confident saying that Native Red win that, especially not 3-0. But we'll see. Losers bracket semifinals. Space Station Gaming 3-1 Native Red.
Not much to say, Tony. I'm gonna repeat myself again. It's not gonna be very interesting. Space Station woke up. This is it. I mean, Native White was 3-1. Native Red was 3-1. They woke up. That's it. They're here to play at this point. Obviously next is a little bit of a different story, but that's pretty much it. Space Station plays plays best with their back up against the wall. 100% agree with what you said earlier about that iciness. Obviously different types of ice, but yeah, they have that. When their back's against the wall is when they perform the best. 100%.
Trying to think of like a good comparison, but whenever I'm making comparisons, I would want to be careful, like not to be like disrespectful.
Oh, I get it.
I feel like Space Station Gaming and Native Red, again, I said it before, two of the top three objective efficient teams in the league. Two teams that don't have to overslay and can win objective games and win series without even slaying. But my issue is that SSG do what Native Red do, just bigger and better.
Okay.
Like I like that, and that's it. Like I'm thinking, I'm trying to think of like a comparison. It's almost like I feel like it's almost like, you know, you compare like a Steph Curry and like a Trae Young in their prime. You know, like Trae Young is nasty at shooting threes. Shoot from the logo, do his thing, has the handles, has everything that you want.
Steph
and Steph Curry's the same thing. He's just, but he's just better.
Right.
Like, they both can put up 30 in a night. It's just that when if they match up, if Trae Young puts up 30, Steph's gonna put up 40 in his prime. I feel like they do the same thing. It's just that one happens to be better right now.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's where I'm at every time SSG match up against Native Red. Still think Native Red are momentum driven, and if they're riding a freaking high, they can beat SSG. But if you ask me, like, you know, 9 times out of 10, you know, 8 times out of 10, who wins it? I'm gonna say Space Station Gaming, and Space Station Gaming do end up winning it 3-1 over Native Red. Then go into the losers bracket finals and get swept by FaZe.
FaZe want the rematch, dude. That's all that was. Space Station didn't get to play against Optic. It is what it is. FaZe were pissed that they got 3-0'd. And they wanted the rematch. That's all that was, in my opinion. There's like, again, I always talk about Halo mental because I think it's so very important. And I say this before. I think the mental part of Halo is 70% of the game. There's mechanics, you know, all of that, movement, whatever, that's within the 30%. But the mental part of the game, the confidence, the playmaking, the, you know, thinking ahead and, you know, thought process that goes into when you're playing is 70% of the game. In Halo Infinite. Halo 5, I think I'd bring it down to 60. But, because I think Halo 5's individual skill is crazy. So, I think with this, you know, you have those mental aspects where your thought process is there. You know, obviously you're making the right plays, blah, 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 blah. And then again, you have those intangibles where you're really pissed off. You got 3-0'd by Optic because, you know, in Charlotte, you went to a game 7. So they wanted a rematch. And that's all it was. They played phenomenal because of that. And so they got their rematch. Yeah.
I was trying to find like I can't even find just words to say when it came to this matchup because I want to love SSG. I just always feel like I know so little about them. And I've always felt that way. I've always felt like
they're quiet.
Whenever it comes to SSG, like I want to love them. I just feel like I've never got the chance to really talk to them. Not many interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Not many. Not you know, they don't stream much at all, really.
Yep.
And I feel like it was always hard. It's always hard for me to gain like a personal connection as a fan with SSG because of that. And I was really happy with when they moved from Cloud9 to Space Station Gaming because I thought that org would be able to bring them out of the light, of the darkness, I guess, into the light, if you will.
Yeah, good point.
And I mean, so I so far has a little bit like I like the concept they're making, but I don't feel connected with SSG and sometimes and sometimes it makes it tough for me to root for a team when I know so little about them.
Okay.
And that's sometimes how I feel with SSG. Like, I want to love them. I really do. I want to know more about them when it comes to this. Like, because I think that affects as well expectations and whatnot, different things. Like I feel like I was like FaZe 3-0 SSG. Like my first instance, I was like, oh shit, FaZe are good. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. SSG are freaking good. Like, what am I talking about? Like what? SSG are nasty. Like, why did they get 3-0? But I feel like my first instinct was like to think about FaZe in that matchup, and not SSG, because I just know more about FaZe. Like I've watched Frosty stream tons back in Halo 5 and even Halo Infinite as well.
Yeah.
Same thing with Renegade. I can't remember all two stream. He be wild sometimes.
It's funny. It's funny.
Even Snakebiter. But I've built like as a fan, I feel like I've built more of a connection towards FaZe. So much easier for me to root. I don't know why I kind of went on that like tirade.
I think it's important to mention. I think it's very important to mention that. I 100% agree. And I think Ego said it on main stage at Charlotte. He said we're just a really quiet team. We keep to ourselves. We stay out of drama and we practice. Well, lack of before Charlotte, but that's what he said, and I get that. They remind me of a final boss. That's what they remind me of, except not as dominant and not a dynasty. But that's what they remind me of. Final boss was very quiet too. They didn't talk. They hardly did interviews. Every once in a while, you hear Walshy talking up a storm, but that's it. It was very quiet. They kept to themselves, whereas everyone else was very loud. But anyway, sorry.
You're fine. I would have instead of just being oddball and live fire and King of the Hill on streets as the two objectives, I would have loved to see a world where it was live fire strongholds and like maybe like an Aquarius CTF. And I wonder if it would have been saying like oddball is like FaZe is like second best game type, like statistically. Mm-hmm. Like is their second best game type. They're damn good at King of the Hill as well. So I think it's like if your name's not Optic, you have weak game types, and I think maybe SSG might have ran into a few of their weaker game types. Maybe that's why they got swept and didn't win a single game.
Maybe.
But I want to freaking love SSG. I just want to see more of them. Whether it's like streaming, whether it's more content, stuff with Space Station Gaming. I mean, hey, if SSG are watching right now, like our podcast's open. You guys want to be a guest? We'll get you. I don't speak for Tim, but I'm sure he'd be happy to have any one of you guys on.
Absolutely.
And whatever it is, I feel like I just want to know more of Space Station Gaming, and for some reason I felt the need to say that. But the last time we saw SSG, FaZe 3-0, going into the grand finals, FaZe dominate that first series in a 4-1. They then go into the grand finals reset, starting with a 2-0 in that grand finals reset, best of 7, by the way. Thick match it back, getting 2 wins of their own. Then Optic win that game 5 to go up 3-2 and are 1 series away from not knocking Optic out. Optic go against FaZe in one of their better game types in Oddball, win that, send it into a game 7, and then ultimately Optic become your champions in that game 7 of the grand finals reset, not the first series.
We are going to see this happen the rest of the season. This will be the 2 teams we see at every grand final, in my opinion. I don't think it's a question. They are very evenly matched. And like I said before, FaZe is only going to grow. Now, Optic, like I said before as well, are much more disciplined, in my opinion, right now with the addition of Renegade. If you're talking Lethal, and let's say Lethal fit the roster a little bit better than he did towards the end, then we're talking about a different situation, in my opinion. I think that Optic they've worked on this discipline thing for so long. And it's about, and when I say discipline, I want to kind of explain myself. It's about 48-48. And instead of pushing, a weak player that's, you're on live fire, 48-48 Slayer, whatever, you get a guy weak on cuts. Instead of pushing top center to go push that guy and get the one shot to kill him, and then potentially, win the game off the next kill, you sit back and realize they've got to set up on tower. They're doing this, they're doing that, whatever. We saw, you and I were able to witness a couple of the plays from Optic where they kind of just sat still and were trying to make a play down bottom center. They sent 4. Like, things like that don't really happen out of FaZe yet. I think they will, because I think Snakebite is a very, like, one of the smarter players in the game. And I think his play calls are good, and so are Frosty's. And I think all of them can make play calls. It's just an adaptive thing. That's what kind of Snakebite kind of told me. But I think that with a little bit of time, this will be very different. We're talking about an Optic that, yes, has worked on discipline for as long as they have, but FaZe just started with, obviously 3 of them were together for 12 years, but Renegade is a completely new addition. I know he's been in the game for a long time. He's been in the game for longer than Bound. I get it. So he's not a rookie, but I think he has still growing to do. I think, you compare him to Snakebite, who's been around since 2006. He's got growing to do. And once that growing happens, the more events he attends, the more he's able to place within the top 2, the more he'll get better at that discipline. And then we'll see a different thing. I was very surprised, Tony, and I want you to comment on this after when you say your piece. I was very surprised that Slayer was as big of a gap as it was. What happened? I wanted to ask Snakebite in his stream the other day. I just didn't want to feel disrespectful. Hey, Snakebite, why did you lose that game 7? What happened? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to. So I didn't want to ask him, but I really want to know. I really want to know what exactly fell apart. I know that Optic were overwhelming. I know that Optic won a lot of isolated fights and that Optic controlled spawns for, I think it was like 10 kills. They were staggering really well, but why? And I think the only word to describe it is discipline. And a lot of times, Rennie would die first, in a situation, and that's his role, Tony, right? He's the entry frag. He puts the damage in. Sometimes he walks away with 2. Sometimes he walks away with 2 1-shots. But, anyway. Yeah, I was very surprised at that Slayer. And my camera's frozen, but yeah.
I wish I had an answer for you, but I think ultimately, as simple as it sounds, in that Slayer, whether it was individual engagement, whether it was the 2-man pushes, bait and switches, no matter what it was, I just think Optic were winning their battles, and every single one of them and that just caught FaZe off guard. Even though that Slayer ended up being 50-30, that's 20 kill difference just in the Slayer. With that entire best of 7 series, FaZe outslayed and out-assisted Optic 420 to 409, assist 414 to 206.
Wow.
And mind you, again, they lost by 20 in that game 7.
414 to 206, you said?
That was 214 to 206.
Oh, okay.
So where FaZe's bread and butter come is that they have so much firepower. They will slay they will slay you the hell out. It's simple as that. And in that game 7, I hate to be like, just cookie cutter with it. It just didn't work. Yeah. The bend but don't break defense from Optic didn't get broken. And mind you, it did in the first 2 Slayers. Slayer Empyrean, FaZe 50 to 28 them. Slayer Aquarius, FaZe 50 to 44 them. 2 out of 3 Slayers that were in that very series that they lost went to FaZe. And one of them was a stake. Optic, they stepped up another level. Another team that, man, they freaking icy, man. I feel like Optic's game plan going against FaZe should be like, screw the map, screw everything. Just get to game 7. We'll figure it out. I'm not even joking. I feel like if FaZe beat Optic in the best of 7 series, it's 4-2. It's 4-1. When Optic gets you to game 7, shit, I'm betting Optic all day long.
But do you see where I'm coming from about the Renegade edition? With Lethal, that was not the case. With Lethal, I know, but with Lethal, Optic struggled against Sentinels, which is now FaZe. That's what I'm saying. Like, it is that one.
I disagree. I think Optic. I mean, Optic still won Worlds and Orlando. Sentinels didn't.
No, but I'm saying in their series that they had together, Sentinels didn't make it very far at all. But I'm saying, like, the series that they had together, I felt like Sentinels was always Optic's kryptonite. Always.
I think you put Lethal on this team the same thing. I mean,
I'm not saying it's going to be different. I'm just telling you, like, with the addition of Renegade, he adds a lot of firepower, but I think there's a lot of growing to do, which is good for FaZe. I think that's kind of scary for Optic, because if you think about it, give him 6 more months and GG's, Worlds is FaZe all day, you know? Okay. Anyway.
I can definitely agree to that. I think with more time, I think FaZe can win Worlds. But at the same time, you give Optic more time to
true.
Now to strengthen their game types, which are already so good at, and then find out what your weaknesses are and how they can figure. Like, I feel like it's a double-edged sword. Swing left, swing right, it can still hit you. Yep. But either way, not taking anything away from Optic, they come in again back to back LAN champions, world champions, and now even online. FaZe come out and beat out FaZe, and I'm sorry, Optic come out and beat out FaZe in that grand finals reset, and we had a long show. We're approaching 2 hours now. Woo! I would love to go over straight sick.
We'll have to save it.
I'll leave it up to you.
No, we'll have to save it.
But I think maybe we save it for next week.
Yeah,
and
he deserves it.
And yeah. Because we're close to 2 hours now, when this show's supposed to be an hour long. Yeah. Guys, thank you for staying up. I know it's past some of y'all bedtimes.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was fun.
Tim, do you have any final words?
I was the best. We have 15 episodes thus far. We took a little break there. That was the best podcast I think we've had. I personally felt that way. I don't know. I just felt really good about all the discussions we had and good back and forth, and obviously a very good tournament. We got to cast together. Tony, you and I doing the grand finals, feeling like Bravo and Onset for a minute. It was really cool, and appreciate all the kind words that Tony and I got. And whenever we cast together, I can tell you that we're gonna get better. We're gonna continue to try and get better. Might not we be with him in HCS, but maybe that one day changes. But when we do online tournaments together and when we do anything together, Tony and I want to improve. So. And I think I speak for Tony by saying that as well. I think he has that same mindset. Obviously, I stream on Twitch. I'm uploading content on YouTube now very consistently. So if you want to go check that out. But primarily, make sure you guys check this out. Sub to the HCS Source YouTube. We do every single week on Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Usually the shows last an hour, but when we get carried away and we have a lot to talk about, they will last longer. And just appreciate everyone that's tuning in. So if you want to listen to on podcasts, obviously we have all of those, Apple and all that, Google Podcasts, etc. So thank you guys.
Yeah, and very similar. I'm streaming and uploading content daily. I stream most in the morning time, 10 o'clock in the morning. This is how I'll come in at night as well. YouTube, TikTok, all that good stuff. It's been really fun getting to being a content creator and doing casting full time. I've loved the relationships that I've been able to create, especially with Tim and doing this podcast and whatnot, and I expect this podcast to continue to grow as well. So make sure you guys follow us on YouTube if you haven't already. If you want to catch it live 10 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, if you guys can stay up just a little bit, normally an hour long, but we had a lot of content to go over today. And we're gonna see you again next week, same time, same place, 10 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/HCS Source. All right, guys, peace out.